Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. My name is Kyle Gray, and today on the show we have Adrianna Foster. Adrianna is a multi-talented singer, an entrepreneur, and performer, and today we're going to explore her story about foster hypnotherapy and the process of how we change who we are by addressing our deepest belief systems and shadow. We're going to hear some of her story on how she crafted her own transformational moments through these processes and how she makes such a big impact with her clients using hypnotherapy. So without any further ado, let's hand it over to Adrianna. Adrianna Foster, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
I'm so excited to be back. Thank you so much, Kyle, for this opportunity.
I am very excited to reconnect with you. A few years back, we created a story around singing that was really beautiful and meaningful. And as somebody who's also a musician and a creative spirit, I really appreciated it. And I'm excited to explore just how things have been since we last talked and to talk to you about one of your mini businesses, Foster Hypnosis. But
Yes.
before we get into that detail, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us who you are and how you're showing up in the world today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. My name is Adrianna Foster. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and a transformational trainer, and I love to support others to break through. I am a loud woman that fosters purpose, creativity, and joy so others can break through, so others can find their sovereignty, their inner peace, their authenticity, and figure out how to be designers of the life that they desire. I've been doing clinical hypnotherapy for 15 years, and I am the CEO, founder, and creator of Loud Women Nation, a community for women where we teach women how to break their silence, how to reclaim their voices, and find the sovereignty within. And I'm also the creator, founder, and CEO of Foster Hypnosis, which we officially launched this year. It's a group practice in where several practitioners come together and we create masterful programs to guide people towards their fulfillment, their healing, and their joy. So I am a passionate believer in human potential. I believe that authenticity is the key to solve every problem in the world, including our own challenges. And I believe that it is 100% doable for us to have the life that we desire.
That's beautiful. And it's not only doable, but I think one of the things that I hear, and I would love to explore like what hypnosis is or what your perspective on it. And one of the things that I appreciate about it, as somebody who's a very high achiever and works really hard, it's very attractive to have something, especially when it comes to like mindset and some of that difficult work, that the hypnosis, it doesn't do all of the work for me, but it also helps me, and it's not me having to do all of the work either. And I think that's really
Absolutely.
attractive. As somebody just being like vulnerable, opening this up, a lot of the times I have doubts of my ability to manage myself in the way
Mm,
that I really want.
yeah,
And I think there are ways that our subconscious can like trick us and maneuver us around, that it makes it difficult to create the transformation that we could want on our own. And having somebody who can see and guide you in a way that's on a deeper level than what we're used to can create some really powerful results. I would love to hear kind of your
absolutely.
perspective if that's accurate to what you see
Yes.
hypnosis is.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love how you said it. And it is definitely super important to understand that inner work and shadow work, what we see as shadow work, has two components, right? There are the things that we know and that we have access to and that we can control and take ownership on. And there are the things that we don't know, that we don't necessarily have all the access to, and that unfortunately control 97% of the things that we do and that we know. So this is a big, big misconception in human behaviors. A lot of us don't know that 97% of the things that we do are controlled by the subconscious mind. And what we also don't know, the deeper part that we don't know, is that that 97% of the subconscious mind is programmed the first 7 years of your life. So going back to what you said, that you don't have to do all the work, sometimes I find that my clients and people in general are very frustrated because they're doing all the right things. They're doing the things that the coach says, or the positive affirmation says that you should do, or the things that you really want to do, and you're still not getting the results that you desire, or even worse, you go back to the same cycles over and over again. You go back to the toxic relationship, the toxic financial situation, the toxic emotion over and over again, and you don't know how to change that, right? So knowing that there is something that can allow you to not only heal what's internally driving you to these results, but also feel like something is helping you, that you don't have to do 100% all the work, even though you do, but it feels like something internally is helping you. That is fantastic. And that's why I love hypnotherapy and hypnosis in general, regressions. And there's several other techniques that allow you to tap into this subconscious pattern, which we call self-worth system, that is created on the first 7 years of your life. Understand why it was created this way, how it's affecting you today, and what are the parts that are no longer relevant for you to experience today as an adult, so you can change them, transform them, and create the life that you desire.
Amazing. One of the things that you're illustrating here, and there's some parallels, though they may be unexpected in the work that I do and the work that you're doing here. And one of the things that I believe that a great signature talk is in addressing belief systems in the same way that we might be addressing belief systems in this hypnotherapy. And I'm curious, what are some of the belief systems that people have before they work with you, or that would make them an ideal client? How do they feel about their own transformation, and what's blocking them, and maybe like what's the truth behind it, and how are you reaching them and messaging them and shifting their perspectives to get them enrolled in working with you right now?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I love this question because I always tell people the hardest thing for me as an entrepreneur and as a business owner is to get people to invest on the programs that are going to make them uncomfortable. Right? So a lot of people that come to me are either currently on a crisis, and they feel, going to the belief systems, right? They feel like they cannot do something on their own, or they feel like they don't have the resources, or they feel like there are no options, or are people that have gone through crisis and they want to go deeper, they want to elevate, they want more results. So those are like my two specific clients. What I see as a common denominator for both clients is that there is most of the times an underlying belief that my solution and what I need is on the outside. Whether it's I need to get the money, I need to lose the weight, I need to find the relationship, I need to be better, right? That there is something that I don't currently possess for me to get there. So the biggest challenge for me is, number one, get them to understand that everything you need is within. And I know it sounds very cliche, but I promise you it's true, right? Everything you need is within, number one. And number two, that you get to be uncomfortable, that being uncomfortable and being wrong about what you believe you are, you deserve, or you were in the past, or how things were, being wrong is actually the first step for you to be able to open up, to get out of your box, to see what's possible, and to find that the solutions are not what you're looking for, right? The hardest part for me is to teach people that the door that you're trying to open will never open. And there's another door that you are not aware of. And it's normal that you're not aware of, because if you were aware of it, you would open it by yourself, right? So
Yeah.
I'm always very passionate about asking people, are you willing to be wrong? And that is how I'm able to determine who is a good fit for my programs, who is ready for this type of practice. If you're ready to be wrong, ready to be uncomfortable, your life can be changed through hypnotherapy.
Yeah. It is it can be a confrontational process, and to change how we've been feeling about how we've been feeling. And one of my
Yes.
experiences in this, which I think is really important, and I think it is a really big important challenge. I'm curious, like like how we address this. But for me, one of the things that I'm hearing is in this journey of entrepreneurship, and long before any entrepreneurship happened, I felt discomfort. And I've been feeling this feeling for like 15, 20 years now. And it's the feeling of being on the edge of my comfort zone, learning something new, being in the uncertain and being there. But it feels uncomfortable and it feels wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong if I feel this way. There's
Mm-hmm.
one layer to this. The more interesting layer to this is it always feels the same. It felt the same 10 years ago. It felt the same 5 years ago, 1 year ago. And I make the mistake of thinking that because I feel the same, I am the same. But what makes me feel this way today is not what did it a year ago, especially not five, especially not 15. And this feeling of like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I'm uncertain, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this. For a long time, I would relate it as there's something wrong with me, but it actually means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as an entrepreneur and as a visionary and going out into the unknown and being the one who's brave enough to venture out there and find some treasure to bring back to the rest of the world, which is something that I think we need more than ever, and as
Yes.
many people as possible doing that right now.
Yes.
But our attitude towards discomfort is very interesting, and it's uncomfortable to get people to accept being uncomfortable. And I'm curious, like what are you doing right now to reach people or to open people up to this particular idea?
Absolutely. So the first thing that we need to understand is why not knowing, uncertainty, and getting out of our comfort zone is so scary, right? We need to, and if we can understand that, especially in each one of our lives, like if we understand that part of our story, right? When that uncertainty, not being in control, was unsafe, that's when you start healing, and that's when you start healing the idea and the significance and the meaning behind in our brains behind uncertainty, right? Because as human beings, our natural state, our brain, our human brain will tend to want to know, right? Being in control, being able to predict and knowing what's going to happen makes us feel certain, gives us a sense of safety. But most importantly, if we grow up in an environment where uncertainty was not welcomed, where there was not a consistent and predictable pattern of love and care and connection with our caregivers, if we didn't have that consistency as children, for a child to not experience a consistent form of love and intake of love, that can be a near death experience. So that is where our brain starts connecting, not knowing what's going to happen, feeling uncertain, feeling confused, feeling uncomfortable with there is something wrong. Why? Because when we were children, there was something wrong. We were in danger. Now, what happens is that as we grow old, right, we don't depend on mom and dad anymore. Our nervous system changes and rewires in the sense that we can provide ourselves the care, the love, the connection. We are our own source of masculine and feminine, healthy love, but our brain doesn't know that. We don't have that update. So we will continue. This is what I was telling you, that the first 7 years of your life are the most important. We will continue to operate under the same idea, right? That inconsistency, not knowing, uncertainty, it's wrong. Why? Because when we were kids, when I didn't know when mom was going to give me love or how mom was going to react, I experienced a near death experience. So that meant that I had to know, that I had to control, that I had to make sure that mom was happy so mom or dad could give me love. This is where people pleasing comes up. This is where we start disconnecting and shaping who we are, right? So as adults, uncertainty, being uncomfortable and not being able to control, it's a threat. So what we have to do is that we have to reassess and reprogram what those terms mean. So then we can understand that as adults, uncertainty, not knowing, taking risks is actually a sign that you're growing. It's a sign of growth, it's a sign of evolution, it's a sign that you're actually playing the game of life the way that you're supposed to. But if you don't know that, then your brain will always connect back to there is something wrong. Let me fix it. And this is how people will stay forever in uncomfortable, painful situations just because the brain feels that that is the safest thing to do. Make sense?
It does make sense. And it's a really interesting problem to crack right here.
Yes.
And a lot of the times, like you said, or well, you didn't quite say this, but you implied this of it's paying the money and making the money sale isn't even the hardest part of this. And I've worked with a lot of health and wellness experts too. If you pay them $10,000, but then you still eat bread every day, it's not going to
1,000%.
work. And so we've got to
1,000%.
bring them around to this. And one of the things
1,000%.
this show's all about and why we're here is because it's ineffective to get up on stage or on a podcast and be like, your childhood was messed up, or like, who raise your hand if you had a tough childhood, and have some secrets to share. Everybody's like, oh
Yeah.
But if we
sure.
can start to meet them where they are in
Yes.
in our message and in their teaching, and they can start to feel like we understand them, not from explaining to them what's happening, but by sharing our moments and our stories, this is what creates the trust and opens them up to the possibilities and allows them to embrace some of
Yes.
what's going on here.
Absolutely. And if I may add, this
Yeah.
is a very important part of it, right? You say it's not enough for us to pay the money and go to the thing, but if we don't stop eating bread, it's not going to work. I 1,000% understand. However, it is very important to know that we don't stop eating bread, not because we don't want to. This is exactly what I was addressing, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
we can tap into this frustration cycle that I am doing everything I need to do, and there's a part of me that still keeps me going back to the toxicity. So what I tell my clients all the time, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs as well. That's a big part of the things that I do. I teach entrepreneurs how to build a business from a place of soul and purpose. And what I tell them is the branding coach, the marketing agency, all of that is the last step. Why? Because it doesn't matter how much you decorate your brand, your authentic, true belief is going to always bleed out. So it doesn't matter how many health coaches you see, if you don't heal the fact that bread is giving you some sort of instant gratification to cover a pain that you haven't seen, you will continue to, eat bread. So if you don't heal, and if you don't understand who you truly are, if you're not able to reconnect with your voice, your silence will come through. So that's why it's very important to first go back to your self-worth system, understand what it's trying to tell you, heal your pain, and then stop eating the bread, the marketing, that whatever is wrapping up yourself is going to work organically. Does it make sense?
It does make sense. So let's find that moment. And I guess just a little aside for everybody listening, I don't eat bread. I don't have that much of a problem with bread. It was just an example for all of the bread lovers out there. You can eat your bread if that's what
Yes,
you want. If you hire a
I
health
agree.
coach and they tell you not to, then you probably shouldn't. But that's a different podcast for today. So bringing it back to this, you've hinted at a few things, and I would love to deepen our customer experience right now. We've got everything kind of feels wrong or feels uncomfortable. So I'm wrong. All of the hard work is not working. And maybe I can't trust myself.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Is there anything else that really immerses ourselves in the client experience?
I think, a big sense of what's going to happen when they find out that I'm not good enough, right? So it's like the big imposter syndrome. Like I need to keep pretending, I can't be vulnerable. I can't show how scared I am because then I'm going to lose what I have gained.
And that's why I need to work so hard all the time, never
That's
stop.
why I need to pretend I need to keep up the lie, which disconnects me even more and gives me even more a sense of loneliness and
Mm-hmm.
abandonment, internal abandonment.
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, I think we've got a good idea of the pain of the customer. What are some of the things that you think makes your process unique or different or better that you would want to convey? Not necessarily the end result, but maybe how we get there.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say that it's better. I definitely would say that it's unique. I believe that there's thousands of paths to get to the source. What makes me unique is that I am very, very much a believer that the shadow is the key to the light. So I encourage my clients to befriend the shadow. What does that mean? I am the type of practitioner, and in all my programs, both Loud Womenation, Foster Hypnosis, everything I do, I go head on to the shadow. We learn how to love our fears. We learn how to love our negative thoughts. I am a believer that there's so much toxic positivity out there right now. All the people that tell you, oh, just grab the negative thought and replace it with a positive makes me want to puke, right? Because it's definitely not the way to the light. I believe that we have to go to hell in order to find our own light. So my processes, my programs are very much based on compassion, of non-judgment, learning how to face on the things that you're more or most afraid of and love them unconditionally so then nothing can ever haunt you again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've got learn to love the shadow and use it to grow. We've
Yes.
got targeting belief systems that create behaviors from the root.
Yes.
And a third thing. What's that?
I think definitely I am a believer that your gifts are the key of your existence. Learning and understanding what is your gift, your unique gift, and putting it out there in the world and stepping into an unapologetic way of living. This is my loud method, right? Being loving, open, unapologetic, and deserving, and taking up space with grace, sharing vulnerably and graciously your gift will allow you to feel the sovereignty, freedom, and happiness that we all seek for, even if it's not in a professional way. Just being able to express and exercise your purpose and your gift, that is like a part of our soul that gets to be um expressed in order for us to achieve fulfillment. So I'm very much, well, I mean, I'm a creative, I'm a singer, I'm a very unique person. So I love to see people, embracing their uniqueness and sharing it loudly with the world.
Excellent. And for our third set of ingredients, we've got our pain points, we've got what makes you different, and then just translating these pain points into desires or outcomes. Everything feels uncomfortable and I'm wrong becomes I'm living in alignment and ease. All the hard work is not working becomes I'm working enough with lots of space for the rest of my life. I can't trust myself to I can trust myself, and there's a peace within that. And what's going to happen if they find out who I am becomes I love showing who I am, and it's my greatest strength.
Yes, agreed. A
Great.
1000%.
Good. Good set. So now we're going to use your creative, your powerful intuition and emotive senses that were once these things driving the car from the back seat and leaving us in every kind of direction in order
I love
to
it.
identify and find the stories that are going to be of the greatest service to our audience today.
I love
And
it.
so to do this, I want to read back once again just the language that we use for the problem. And I want you to tune into your body and tell me where you're feeling these words land. Everything feels uncomfortable, and that makes me wrong. I'm working so hard to keep everything going, and I'm afraid that if people find out what's really going on. They're going to see I'm not good enough. It's going to all fall apart. I try so hard to fix these things, and I think I'm doing all of the right things. But um, uh, when I can't trust myself, I can't figure out how to get through this. Where in your body do you feel or experience
Oh,
these words?
I felt it in my throat and in
Nice.
my gut. I think that it's just shame. Shame is like
Yeah.
really connecting all of these things, which is shame is one of the biggest, shame and guilt, the two biggest toxic emotions in humanity.
Yeah. Great. When did you feel like this in your life?
Oh my God, my childhood, my entire childhood was exactly what you described.
Excellent. Help
Yeah.
me. We don't have to find the best story, but we do have to find one moment, one specific Tuesday afternoon that fits what we just described. Could be from the childhood or teenage or you could be later on in your adult life experiencing the impact of these things that came from childhood. Um, which is there a specific day that is
Yes.
rising to the top?
Yes, the day I knew I wanted a divorce,
Mm,
I was sitting down on my kitchen table and I was feeling exactly how you described. I was feeling ashamed. I was feeling like I couldn't trust myself. I was feeling like I've done everything possible to fix and change my life. And I would come back to the same pattern of feeling like I couldn't show myself because everything was going to fall apart. It was total overwhelm. It was like a prison.
tell me about the kitchen table or the kitchen. Give me a detail. Was there a
Yeah.
bowl of fruit on the table?
So there's a bowl of fruit in the middle.
Mm,
There is a brown table, like tablecloth. I don't know if that's the right
hmm.
way to
That's right.
describe it. And then there's a wall with
Ooh.
tons of papers and things that I have been brainstorming around my business. And, it's kind of like the way I see it, the way I remember is like when I saw the wall, like it represented all my overwhelm and my frustration of like going in circles. And like I worked so hard and I still feel like shit. Excuse my French.
No worries. I feel like I'm picturing, like in detective movies where there's all these threads
Yes,
going back
that's
and
that's
forth and
exactly it.
fingers stuck up on the
Yes.
wall. Nice.
That's exactly it. I had a whole wall with like even like with pins and like connecting things and trying to like figure out how to, because in my head, right, again, was I haven't achieved something. I was so stuck into opening this door that was not the door for me. And then I just realized that the first step to open that door was I needed a divorce. That was my first step.
How did we get to that? What happened right before that conclusion? Is it just an inner dialogue with yourself? Is there something else, somebody else in the kitchen that influences this? Why does this day
Yeah.
come
I
up?
think that I came home super late. It was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, and my house was a total mess. My daughter was, she was not showered and she was full of chocolate, and the house was a mess. And then I started, as always, cooking and cleaning and doing all the things that I would do plus working. And then I realized that no matter what I did and how many people I had around me and my husband and all the things, I was alone. And that loneliness got me into this spiral of thinking of like I felt alone for so many years and the frustration and the not being able to open the door. And then I realized like I'm just so afraid to be uncomfortable and to face the fact that I'm very unhappy.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that I needed to get a divorce. I realized that I had created a life
Mm,
where I would choose people, circumstances, and a partner that were not able to support me because I didn't trust myself or anyone. I was not letting anybody support me. I was committed of doing it all alone.
hmm. I love it. Great story. Good one. Let's change it up. Let's take it to the other end of the spectrum. We'll do the same process again. Hopefully, this will be easier. And I'm certain you have many of these stories as well. This is a time where you're living in alignment and ease, and you're working enough, but you have space for the rest of your life. There's a peace that comes from trusting yourself, from feeling that you are part of a bigger thing, and you love being and showing who you are.
Mm. So you want me to tell you a specific moment in my life for
Yeah.
that as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
When did you feel?
I mean, I've had so many. Oh my God, so many in the past, probably, you know, I would say 7 years of my life. I let's choose one that just happened, like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I had one of the biggest trainings of my company, and it was in the morning. It was probably like 6 o'clock in the morning, the day after the training. I woke up and I was exhausted. My partner was exhausted. My daughters were exhausted because we all worked for the entire week. It was like huge because that's like the biggest one. My house was a mess because we had all of the boxes and the things that we brought to the event. So we curate these events, and And I woke up, I made myself some tea, and I saw my cats in my bed. And I live in a building where you can see the ocean. So I saw the window with the ocean and my cats, and my partner was sleeping. And then it just hit me like I get goosebumps when I'm telling you this. Like I realized that in the past, I would say 10 years of my life, I have consciously created the life that I wanted. And it might not be, to the eye of other person, like, oh, the life. But for me, is the life. It's exactly what I wanted to experience. And I was able to identify how much I healed and the total other spectrum of the coin. Even though I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I'm doing so much, I am full of support. I feel light. I feel excited. I feel free versus feeling overwhelmed, drowning, and imprisoned.
What I love about this is in that's symbolic to me in the fact that your living space is messy in both
Yes.
stories, and it's
Yes.
not like we think that we just want a clean house, but it's not that.
No. No, no,
And
no. This is why I chose this moment, because even though there's mess around me because we've been busy and we just did an event and whatever, I don't feel messy inside. And it's
yeah,
as simple as cleaning up my house. That's what I need versus cleaning up my entire life, which is what I felt in the first example
absolutely.
I gave you.
Okay. Um, well, would you like to hear a story?
Please.
All right. I get home at 2 in the morning to what in my own mind would look like a crime scene. The house is a mess. My daughter's still up. Her face is covered in chocolate somehow. I didn't even know we had chocolate in the house. And there's so much things that need to be done. I sit down at this kitchen table. There's still a few dirty plates, a bowl of fruit right in the middle. And even at 2 in the morning, I'm trying to rush through the 78 possible things that I could be doing or should be doing. Maybe I should cook some food and prepare that before I go to bed. Maybe I should clean out the sink. I look over to the wall and I see the equivalent of what a detective crime scene analysis of papers and ideas posted everywhere, which I'm trying to use to make sense of my own life and my vision and my business. But staring at this, I feel like I'm looking at somewhere between a crime scene and a mystery because I'm more and more and more overwhelmed every time I look at it. And I was doing everything possible to give to others, to support others, and to make my life better. But it seemed like the harder I tried, the further away from this I was. And I realized in that moment, staring at the wall of the life that could be mine, that I've created a life where I chose people that were not able to support me because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to carry out what was on this wall. I didn't trust my partner to love me or support me. And I brought in somebody that wasn't going to support me. And in that moment, alone in my own house, but not really alone, I realized that no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, if I continued down this way, I was going to be alone.
Mm.
I kept coming back to these same patterns time and time again. And I started to wonder if I ever had the will, if I was good enough of a person, the ability to actually rise above all of my patterns that had been driving my life the whole time. And it was in that moment that I decided that big things needed to change in my life, not the least of which was it was time for a divorce. And I set out on a journey to fall back in love with who I was and where I was going. This was a difficult process, unraveling a lifetime of patterns, and it took many years and a lot of costly and painful mistakes. I wanted to learn how to understand my shadow, my discomfort, my pain, and learn how to love it and use it as a tool for growth. I wanted a way to not just try and tackle my problems at a surface level, but understand and target the belief systems that create behaviors in my life from the root. And I wanted to learn how to identify and understand my unique gifts and share them unapologetically. And I began working on this in many different ways with many different people, following many different processes. And I started finding the way to make this work for me and helping other clients that I had worked with in other businesses. And after a few years of learning how to speak to myself, of learning how to address those systems, I found myself in an apartment, a different partner, and it was early in the morning. Just like last time, I was exhausted. We had just been a part of a huge event that we were working super hard on. But in this moment where I previously felt alone, I felt supported. Even though my partner was sleeping, I saw him there in the bed. My daughters were there. We had all worked really hard the day before, and we were waking up to a full day of just being able to enjoy each other. The house was still a mess, but this time, where in the past that would cause me such fear and tension and anxiety, I realized that that was not at all what I needed or what was important. It was the people and the relationship with myself and the peace that I was able to cultivate in myself by knowing who I was and showing who I was truly. And it was in that quiet morning, watching my husband sleeping in bed, snoozing with the cats, and seeing my daughters move around, that I realized that this process was so important for so many more people other than just myself. And this is exactly what I've set out to create for everybody that comes through Foster Hypnosis.
Oh my God, you are amazing. I have chills everywhere. That was so perfect. I can't believe you made that in this amount of time. You're so talented, Kyle. This is amazing. Yes, every word is true. Every word.
There's an interesting thing about the truth, where there's many different kinds of truth. And maybe if it wasn't exactly detail for detail how it happened, there's a message within this. And this is one of the things that I really love doing, and that people come to me with just this whole pile of ideas and things. And they just need somebody. I don't have any answers for anybody. I just have a few good questions to help you sort out all of your answers and share those in a way, kind of like what we said. And this is me doing the same work that you do with people, which is how do we know the people that we want to speak to well enough and share who we are so that they're willing and able to change what they believe and how they believe it to become the person that will invest with you and become the person that makes the investment in themselves to face the discomfort and grow.
Absolutely. I love it. This is so healing. Sometimes people need this, right? The ability for somebody to grab their chaos and present it to them in a way that they can understand it. Because once we understand it, we can heal it. So I
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that you're doing this, and how you compare it to, or put the comparison to what I do is the same thing, right? We unravel the inner stories and we allow for others to see that clarity, because with clarity we can move forward and build the life that we desire. So beautiful.
Amazing. Adriana, do you have any closing thoughts for us today? And where can we go to learn more about you?
Absolutely. Thank you. You can find me. I would encourage everybody to go to my website, adriannafoster.com. There you can find all of my endeavors, the way to work with me. Um, each project has a website. Loudwomennation.com is my project for women, my community for women, sacred spaces with very powerful transformational programs. And fosterhypnosis.com is my new endeavor where I have all these practitioners working with me. But if you just want to connect with me, adriannafoster.com. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And Kyle, thank you for what you do. I am a true believer that our voice is meant to be heard, but it won't be as powerful and as impactful, and it won't create the ripple effect that it's meant to create until that voice is connected to our truth. And our truth is wrapped up into layers of pain and belief systems that we have created in the past that disconnect us from who we are. So thank you for being a conduit of that truth. Thank you for allowing people to remember who they are and to step into that voice that contains hope, peace, and power, and that can truly change the world. Thank you for being a conduit for people to be loud. I'm very, very grateful for you, and thank you for the opportunity for me to be here. I love this. This is great.
Absolutely, Adriana. It's an honor. And thank you so much for joining us today on the Story Engine podcast.
Bye.